Alright, so we're back now, and we will be comparing our answers and our notes from the given exercise. What is the absolute value of 0? That's question number 1. Since 0, it's on 0, therefore the absolute value of 0 is 0. So please write that down on your packet. Now for number 2, we will be graphing the numbers 6, 0, negative 10, positive 9, and negative 6 on the number line. But to save time, I already pre-draw the number line beginning from 6. So we will graph 6 on the number line. Okay, so here's the number line, and this is 6. 6 is located on the right side of 0, and we will therefore count beginning from 0. Okay, it stops in here, so that's 6 units to the right of 6 units to the right. And so when we write the symbol, that's the absolute value of 6 is 6. What about the graph of 0? This is your number is 0, and we're not moving anywhere, but we just create a point on the number line, and therefore the absolute value of 0 equals 0. 0 is neither positive, it's not positive, it is not also negative. So it's a neutral number. Next, we'll graph the graph of negative 10 using the same number line. So that's a different number line. That's negative 10, as you could see here. So from the farther right, I began with 0. We're gonna move 10. Sorry, it's not a straight line, but that's supposed to be a straight line. So that's 10 units to the left of 0. So if I would write that, it would be the absolute value of negative 10 is equals positive 10. Again, guys, the answer is always positive because we're dealing with distance of a number from 0. Now, what about the graph of 9? Here's 9. We start from 0. 9 is 9 units to the right of 0. And translating this into a mathematical statement, we would say the absolute value, positive 9, would give you 9. And lastly, we have to graph negative 6 on the number line. This is not negative 6, which is located to the left of 0. Okay, so that's 6 units to the left. For a mathematical statement, that's the absolute value of negative 6 equals positive 6. Okay, so we start from the top. So review. Here's the graph of 6, or the absolute value of 6 is positive 6. The absolute value of 0, it's 0. The absolute value of negative 10, as you can see on the number line, it's positive 10. The absolute value of positive 9 is positive 9. And the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. Now we're going to move on to question number 3. which number that you graph has the greatest absolute value? What is the absolute value of that number? So we're looking for the greatest distance. So we're gonna look. So this is 6, 0, 10, 9, -6. So what do you think is the answer? The greatest absolute value, it's the absolute value of -10. So the answer for number 3 is the greatest absolute value is -10, because that's a symbol for absolute value. The absolute value of -10 is equal to positive 10. Now let's move on to number 4. Which two numbers that you graph have the same absolute value? Explain. So we're expect, oh, that's, we got, oops, I saw 2, 6. Okay, so we have -6 equals 6, and oops, +6 equals +6. So I'm gonna answer that in here. What was the question? The two numbers, so this is what you'll be writing on your packet. The two numbers with the same, you may pause it if you want. The two numbers with the same absolute value are -6 and +6, because they are both pareha. They are both 6 units away from 0. You can pause it so that you could copy the whole response. All right. So -6 and +6 are two numbers on the number line that have equal distance from 0. All right. Yes. And lastly, we're gonna be on number 5. Okay. So for number 5, we got letter A, negative. I'll write letter A. So I'll change the color now. Oops. Okay, so for letter A, right, -7 is less than -1. -7 minus -1. When it comes to a negative number, the value of a negative number is larger as it is nearer or closer to 0. Now, para letra B. For letter B, we have the absolute value of -7 and the absolute value of -1. We're comparing those two numbers. But we cannot just make any judgment at all. The absolute value of -7, it's 7. The absolute value of -1, it's +1, and therefore 7 is greater than 1. Letter C. we have, let's use a different color now. We get 0, box, absolute value of -1. This is 0, box, that is +1. Thus 0 is less than 1. Is that color here? Now, all right. So for letter D, I'll use green maybe. Okay, so for letter D, we have the absolute value of 0. We're comparing that to the absolute value of -1. So that's 0, +1. 0 again is less than 1. Okay, letter E. "12", compare that with 12, they are equal, the same, pareha. And letter F, what do you have? Okay, letter F, that's tricky. We have -12, comparing -12 with the absolute value of -12. Okay, so bring it down, that's -12. The absolute value of -12, it's +12. And therefore, the obvious answer here, it's less than. All right, so I hope you guys have learned something today, because these are prerequisite skills that you need to know, and before we could add the positive and negative integers. Okay, so I wish you a safe Monday, and thank you so much guys for watching.